Welcome back to the Win with Dice podcast, a podcast featuring members of the Win with Dice team. I'm Calvin, and I'm joined here by Ramon.
Hey guys, hope you're having a good day. This is the Win with Dice podcast all about tabletop RPGs, running them, playing them. Calvin and I share some stories from games that we play in, games that we run, just so you guys can learn a bit, learn a little thing or two about it, and maybe think about jumping down the other side of the DM screen and seeing how it's not as hard as you think it is. We're definitely in the business of making more people DMs or GMs, getting people to run games and stuff like that. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of the show.
Yes, I love other people running games. Love playing other people's games because I always have such creative ideas. So long as more people can do that, I think our podcast is successful.
Yeah, I know. I think it's kind of like a thing where I think it's just like the idea is like if more people are GMs, that means there's going to be more good ideas that we can steal and make our games better. So really, you're doing a service to us.
You ain't wrong. There's certainly a lot of stuff I want to power from other people's games.
This podcast is the ultimate Ponzi scheme.
It's just pyramids, man. So yeah, we've got a game recap to talk about, and we also wanted to talk about homebrew mechanics and things like that. We've got a few different ones we've used in the past that we want to discuss. So before we get into that, let's get into the Win with Dice weekly GM tip of the week.
Yes, the Win with Dice weekly GM tip of the week, brought to you by Calvin and Ramon, maybe?
Is it?
Yeah, I think it is, Calvin.
Oh boy. I mean, did you want me to think of one, or?
Well, yeah, actually.
Okay, well, let's see. If I think back to some stuff I've recently done, I think something that was really helpful to me, especially the last session that I ran, was giving players an opportunity to influence the narrative more. Sort of giving up narrative control more directly. I think that's probably the most I had done at last session, because a player was describing like what their character's old apartment was, and they hadn't been there for a few decades because of story reasons. But they were explaining like how they get into this secret room and everything, and the certain mechanics of it. And they were like, yeah, there's this guy who existed there before, and he used to run the place. And I was like, cool idea. I'm going to springboard off of that. Now his son runs the place. Thanks for giving that guy a last name. And then he was like, there was another old neighbor who used to live there. And I was like, okay, mental note of that. This person used to live in this particular part of the building. Let me just remember that in case it comes up again. And it just let me sit back and be the guy taking notes on what someone else was saying, which is a unique position for a GM, I think. But, it really, because the way these games tend to work is they're supposed to be like collaborative narrative situations. Like you can lean more into the combat mechanics and make it more of a game and certain things like that. But I like the collaborative narrative idea. So anything that lets other people just sort of have that significant influence outside of it is sort of tied to the character's backstory. But letting them have that narrative control, I think that's a great thing. It allows you to just like get your players to bounce some ideas at you more directly that you can then make note of and expand on. Because now I have that guy's son there as an NPC, and he's got his own personality, and he's got his gang of buddies, and he's got his own history and everything. And now I can work with that. And I didn't know that guy existed until they got there.
Yeah, totally. I'm a big fan of letting the players just make up stuff in your world, because you have a hard enough time trying to come up with 100 different individual people and name them and give them hopes and dreams. Mm-hmm. So all your players can just talk to them for like 5 minutes or something. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah. You keep that kind of realism up. But I still think that like it helps I guess bring out the character that's in the player's head, right? Because the way that I think of my player characters is not necessarily the same way that they think of like the character that they're playing, right? But having them add their own stuff, especially for like their backstory into the world, helps kind of solidify like them in the GM's kind of like a narrative, and everyone's more on the same page, right? Because the worst, I think, like the hardest thing is like when a player thinks like there's a disconnect, and like, you know, the player thinks of one thing and you think it's the opposite, and then you guys are both at an impasse. But because you're the GM, you have like, I guess, narrative right, because you're running the game, to be like, no, this is how it goes, right? And that kind of could leave like a sour note in like kind of the atmosphere, and it's a little bit harder to like move forward from that point. But I mean, like, it's like, if the more input your players have in the game, there's less of that going to happen because everyone's on the same page. So yeah, get them to describe their old apartment where they used to, you know, hang out and do drugs and stuff, because he was a rock and roller.
I don't know what they did in there.
It's true. Probably just made sweet music and tried to challenge the system, man.
Bit of that, yeah.
Oh man, I was pretty excited about that. Check out last week's podcast. Calvin did a recap of his Crown of Dragons game, the Draco Coronum game, and those people have a really fun game, and I'm super excited to keep hearing stuff from it. So yeah, go check it out.
Yeah,
Definitely.
I think we'll be playing in person again soon, so I gotta figure that out.
Oh my god, that sounds so hard.
It's so stressful. I don't know why people do it.
Trust me, man. It's gonna be a little jarring. It's gonna be like, oh shit, I can't just like search this PDF,
right?
Or like just show them a picture. Showing somebody a picture is so useful.
Oh my god, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll work something out. All right, so that's our tip of the week. Step back a bit sometimes. But now let's get into the main thrust of the show, where we have a recap of the Lost Mine of Phandelver, or Lost Mine of Tim Delver, as you've been calling it. A campaign run by our friend Tim, who we've talked to on the show before, which is based on the D&D 5e adventure, but he's converted it over to Pathfinder, which, kudos to him for doing that. I know it takes a lot of effort to convert things, especially like character and monster levels not being the same thing, so yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that game. We haven't talked about it in a bit. We weren't able to get everyone together for the last session of the game, so I don't even remember who suggested it originally at this point. But we ended up having sort of a non-canon, quote-unquote, beach episode, which was titled episode 11.5, The Lost Time of Beach Fun.
Damn it. I was one of the players out, and I'm kind of sad. I truly love when it's just kind of like, we're just like hitting the brakes and just like, let's just do some fun. Like, beach episode, please. No, I'm so sad. Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, it was our range. I keep forgetting that Bren is a ranger. But it was our our ranger Bren with the incredible punching abilities, the Master of Shields fighter Thalum, and my character Teeks, who was a changeling druid, who I originally wanted Teeks to end up being like this sort of evilish, like Teeks was gonna end up being like a total gremlin of a person, and now she's like this soft, cute anime girl.
She's like the mom. Just turned into the mom. Calvin, I feel like most characters you play just turn into the mom. Like, I
mean, Helen did for sure. Macy did. Oh my gosh, you're right.
I think it's just like you. It's like hard for you not to care about people. So you're like, I'm your parent now, you ridiculous children. Come. We have stuff to do.
Wipe your face off with prestidigitation.
Yeah, right. But that's kind of the fun about Teeks. Like, I like the fact that Teeks is a changeling. So changelings, if you don't know, viewers, are like, they're like half hags, essentially. They have like hag blood in them, and like hags are kind of like the archetypical witch kind of thing, but they're also like mothers too, because like a hag has to have, the hag grows her coven by like basically just having children. That's like the way that they do it. So it's like technically like, you know, the hag's like a mother, but it's like a weird creepy mother, but like, you know what I mean? Like I still think it's cool because it's like, you know, you get to, you know, explore some other aspects of like, you know, kind of like femininity or something like that. You know what I mean? Like the whole idea of like, yes, I'm kind of this crazy, cruel magic person, but also like my friends are my friends. I will love them like they're like my children, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, to me, it's like it's all perfect. Like Teague's is exactly the way she should be.
Yes, you develop naturally, which is the best way to make a character. Sometimes coming in with an idea kind of locks you into something. Going with the flow really gets you to what the character should be.
Oh my god, I love especially Brent. I don't even know how to describe Brent. Like, you're right. I kind of forget that Brent is a ranger, because like, I mean, to be fair, I think Brent is just kind of like a dude. Like, I don't even know what it is. Like, if there's just like a dude class, he would just be like Brent.
He hunts occasionally, but in combat,
Brent just shows up and just like, Brent just shows up, walks up and just socks a dude. Like,
just somehow every punch is an incredible roll.
It's always a crit, and it's always a good time. Like, oh man, it's so good. I love it.
But yeah, also featured, because I'll put up some of the art from the episode throughout this recap. But also, there was a screen, like a splash screen of it, that also features. We've talked about this guy before, way back in the earlier sessions of this Lost Mine of Phandelver game. Nigel Percival Chartsworth, or NPC.
Oh, gosh. Nigel!
This roguish guy, who I guess Teagues had a bit of a crush on, even though he was totally a jerk. I just kind of injected that. I don't know if I really mentioned it last time, but I find the idea hilarious. So yeah, he was also in this episode, and he's also featured on the splash screen. But yeah, so this episode started off with just taking some time off after several fantastic adventures. We were just hanging out on the beach. So Bren and Fallum were in the water, because Bren hasn't really been in the water much before, so he was just enjoying that. Fallum's a sailor, so he was all about it. He was just like throwing a beach ball at Bren. And Teagues was just relaxing under an umbrella, because, I don't know, it was too hot and too sunny. She is a swampy water kind of person. But yeah, so then I guess sort of the plan was to play some volleyball, and I think Fallum and Teagues were in, but Bren was like too deep into the water, just swimming around, enjoying himself too much to care to notice that we were trying to get a volleyball game going. So, and I'll admit, in this game, I was a little more flexible with my spells. I should have had things like definitely pre-prepared, but I was kind of like, no, I probably prepared that, whatever. I certainly wouldn't do that in like a canon session where I actually have to like be prepared for things. But this one I was like, yeah, I'll be flexible about it. Although, so I know I have to look at my spell list to remember how this worked, but I think I was able to do this as a focus spell, and because it was like a cantrip or something, or no, maybe I had it as a cantrip. I don't even remember. Focus cantrip. I don't think that's a thing. But I do have access to pest form. And because it was leveled up due to my level being higher, I could access more creatures, which meant I could do animal form, which meant I could turn into a shark.
Oh, that explains so much. Because unfortunately, because I couldn't make it, all I could see was all of the stuff everyone posted in the Discord.
Yeah.
And now everything has way more context.
Yes. So Teagues was dressed in like this frilly beach dress thing. And I guess in the Discord we were posting a bunch of pictures of sharks in dresses, because that's what she looked like.
Oh, it's so funny.
Oh, I think I should put a couple of those into the... Yeah, I could spend focus points to cast Wild Shape. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Which is heightened, so I could do sharks. And yeah, maybe I'll put a couple of them into the... I'll put a couple of those images in the episode if I can.
I love the idea that like your clothes don't change, but like you change.
Yeah.
Like I think that might be canon in my world now. If anyone does like a pest form, it's just like oh, a form of rat, but they're still just like wearing pants. Everyone's gonna be like, yeah, but smaller. But then like someone's gonna be like, that's a weird rat. Why is it wearing pants?
I have to make sure to share the JoJo memes. That should be true.
It really does kind of feel like it really does feel like a beach episode in like a cartoon or an anime, like from all the memes everyone posted on in the Discord chat. So it was pretty funny. Yeah, but go ahead, Cal. Sorry.
So yeah, I went in there with the intent of scaring Bren out of the water, but I rolled a 5 total for intimidation. So Teeks was just kind of like flopping around a bit in the dress.
He was like, "Arr!"
Arr.
Splash, splash, splash.
But we were eventually able to get Bran out of the water after Teeks reformed, like flopping on the shore. And that is when Nigel arrived. So this area that we were, it was kind of like there weren't many people around. There was sort of like a rockier area along the coast or the shore to the south of us, and like some drink stands up north from us. And that is where Nigel was arriving from. And yeah, we briefly caught up with him, or at least Teeks and Bren did, describing some stuff that happened. Again, it's just like non-canonical, so timeline is weird. But Nigel mentioned that he was talking to the person selling drinks, and that he was out here looking for a treasure from a ship that was at least a couple hundred years old, but something that the locals thought was a myth, but he thought there was some truth to it. He did introduce himself to Fallon, who was a sailor. They did talk about like sunken ships and treasures and stuff. And then Nigel offered to join our game of volleyball, because we only had 3 people, so it would have been uneven. So Teeks immediately sniped Nigel as a partner, which was a terrible idea probably, because now I'm playing a game based in athletics against like Fallon and Bren.
We're like the biggest Chad bros ever. Like,
yeah, not my smartest move.
like I know that what's his name? Our thick lad is our thick lad, but Bren and Fallon are also thick lads.
Yes.
So shit. I hope you won.
Well, I gotta say, this game was so back and forth. It was so dramatic. I love how it all turned out. I think I kind of see it similarly to how you were doing your narrative thing in Lancer, where like it's really worked very well out of the gate. There might be some things you can refine just because of some edge cases that you figure out when you actually run the thing. But the base concept is so good that I hope we get to do this again.
Nice. It should just be like entire campaign is just like one big volleyball tournament.
I'd go for that.
Yo, I'll play that game. That sounds fun. Get to be hot dudes in the sand. Oh man, it'd be so good. I'm like so excited the thought of it. Okay, go ahead.
But yeah, like the basics of it was sort of an athletics role to help figure out the distance that you could hit the ball, and that was sort of based. The DC of it was based on how far you wanted to hit it. And then you have sort of an acrobatics roll for your accuracy, which is sort of like you can get the distance, but you might not land at the exact square you want.
Yeah.
So you try to figure out where you want to hit it to. The other person will then have to spend time in like a combat round. They have to take some time to like move over there, which is dependent on how much speed they naturally have. And then they gotta like save it and throw it and like hit it back and everything. I think it was like comparing either the athletics or acrobatics for the receiver. But it was.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, it was. Oh no, it was acrobatics. At least that's what I wrote down here. But yeah, it definitely led to like this back and forth game, which was dependent on these physical skills. I certainly wanted to cheat. I think I cast like guidance or true strike or something on Nigel at some point.
Oh, nice.
My skills were not up to par in this instance.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get into the game. So we have the teams of Teeks and Nigel, Fallon, Bren. And Bren was the I do have to mention that I wrote down this joke that happened, because Tim said, roll a d20 so we can see who serves. And then Chibi said, well, we're all serving looks. And it's like, hell yeah, we are. in our beach outfits.
Damn it! Everyone's so hot.
But yeah, Bren was the first to serve. Teeks was able to receive it, pass to Nigel. I wrote down a lot of notes about this, so I'm gonna give you a play-by-play. Nigel shot back into sort of like the front area of the volleyball court. Like it had like your front and your back, and they were like distinguished by like a line between them. Mm-hmm. Sort of like a tennis court, or I guess, or like a regular volleyball court. I don't know how volleyball works, but it's sort of like you have the net in the middle, and then the two sides are divided in half by a front and a back.
Yeah.
So yeah, shot to Nigel. He tried to get into the front part. Thalum unfortunately rolled low on acrobatics and missed the ball when it landed. So Teeks and Nigel got the first point, and I was feeling pretty confident at that point. And then we got to the next part of the game. Thalum was there to serve. He went towards the back corner. Nigel caught it, but his shot went off. Just because of like how he caught it and the direction it went, and I think he rolled low on acrobatics there. Teeks caught the pass, tried to shoot it back, but it fell a bit short of where she wanted it. Thalum spiked it back. Teeks failed to get it. Nigel tried to help out, but it wasn't able to get close enough, and then Thalum and Bren got the next point.
Wow, this feels like real volleyball.
It really does.
Damn, man, this sounds awesome. Like, it was a little bit of back and forth, and then boom. Like, I don't know, Tim, you did a good job, man. Like...
Oh man, you really did. So yeah, we were playing to 3, if I hadn't mentioned. So we were, at this point, both teams had 1 point, and I was starting to feel nervous. So this is when Teeks cast guidance on Nigel, and then Teeks was there to serve. So she passed to Nigel, who shot it to the far end. Bren caught it, passed it to Thalum. Thalum slammed it back. Nigel ran to hit the ball back to Thalum, tried to stop it before it landed, but just couldn't get. But Thalum couldn't stop it, rather. I wrote that a little confusingly, apparently. Nigel ran to hit it back. Thalum tried to stop it, but the ball landed, so the Teeks-Nigel team had 1 more point, so it was 2-1.
Nice.
So Thalum hit the ball back. It was a bit inaccurate. Teeks caught it, and my strategy was mostly to pass to Nigel, to be honest, if I was there to catch it. So Teeks caught it. Passed to Nigel for a spike, which didn't work out very well. Thalum was able to hit it back with sort of a more deceptive shot, using, I think, deception a bit to, or is it bluff in this game? I forget what it was. To try to fake where he was sending it. Nigel fell for it, but Teeks was able to notice what was going on. She went to get it. It was a great catch for her, but her shot didn't go far enough and ended up hitting the net because of her terrible athletics.
Oh!
So that tied it up at 2-2.
Whoa! 2-2?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay. No way. Like I don't know. I just thought you guys were gonna get creamed, but like.
I thought so too. When we got that
cool.
first point, I was like, "Oh, wait, maybe we have a chance here."
Ooh. Maybe there's like something here. I gotta talk to Tim. Tim may have just invented like a volleyball tabletop RPG.
Hey, maybe. So yeah, we went into the last serve. Bren served it, and Nigel went for it. I think this is when he rolled either very low or rolled like a 1 or something, because his feet skidded out from under him. Teeks was too far away to help at this point. So Nigel went for it. His feet went out from under him. He went too far forward. The ball bounced off his head and onto the sand, and Thalum and Bren got the last point, finishing the game at 3-2.
Yeah, man. True. Okay. Fair.
But yeah, Teeks was like getting really competitive towards the end, and then when they lost like that, she was like glaring at Nigel. She had an electric arc in her hand that she quickly got rid of as she went to, shake Thalum and Bren's hand. Oh, but man, that game turned out so well. Narratively, it turned out super well. I'm so glad it ended like at a 2-3 with the 2-2 like on the last round. Because I didn't know how it was gonna go, but like story-wise, perfect.
Oh, that's so good. Yeah, no, that was like, I mean, like even just you retelling it sounded pretty awesome. Like, now it's making me think like, maybe we should have more like non like combat things in like my own game, where it's like, yeah, let's play like a pseudo card game, or oh hey, let's play like basketball or something, right? Just try and like use those like narrative skills like athletics and acrobatics and like even like bluff and stuff and like all that stuff, but like in like a context of like playing like a sports.
Yeah, because you could do it as like a skill challenge, but doing it as like a versus combat-ish thing just really like elevated it.
Oh man, yeah, like it was cool. It was cool. Definitely super cool.
Oh yeah, I think that was I think that was a brilliant moment. Like one of the highlights of the campaign for me so far. I just love how that turned out. And then we were gonna spend some more time in the water. Teeks was just going back to the shade because I only had like one focus point left. I didn't want to spend it if I didn't have to, just in case. And Teeks didn't want to swim if she wasn't a shark.
If you ain't doing it cool, then what's the point? Like,
So Fallum and Bren did their slow-mo Baywatch run into the water.
Nice.
And Teeks was just chilling out on the beach, and then Teeks saw some movement in the sand further south from her. She tried to wave towards Bren and Fallum, but they couldn't hear her. Fallum was just like drifting around in the water. Bren was trying to stay afloat and just having the time of his life splashing around, so they did not see what was going on with Teeks.
Man, just like bro time vacation, like.
So yeah, Teeks wandered off, and then she went south a bit, and she ran into these creatures who, I forget what they were called, but they're like these small bluish creatures with like these little tendrils coming off of them. And they were trying to build like a castle in the sand for their own protection. Like they were trying to build a home for themselves.
What? Okay.
So yeah, Teeks was like studying them. Like she could see they were trying to build something, but the water kept washing up and like breaking it down and washing it away. So she did. So like I looked at the spells that I had available to me. I did a gust of wind to try to like make a trench in the water to stop the water from ruining things, which worked a bit, but it also blew some of the creatures around, and they made like these little tiny screeches, and they were all dazed and dizzy. And then look, Teeks wasn't supposed to be this nice, but so she walked up, she apologized to the things, she gathered up the ones that got blown away and brought them back together. The creatures, it seemed like they were trying to protect them. There's their eggs from something larger, like this crab that was around. And Teeks was like, "Don't worry, I'll take care of it." And she shot the crab with a ray of frost, which it's a small crab,
just like instantly dead,
basically. So after that, like Teeks wasn't able to help too much more. So she went back to the others to try to like explain what was going on, and that was when Nigel came back with like drinks and food, which of course Fallum and Bren saw and returned to right away.
That's what they saw. It's like, of course.
And during that time, Fallum was able to spot some driftwood, and with his sailor knowledge, was able to recognize that it came from a crashed ship, possibly nearby. So they had drinks. Teeks described what happened. Fallum was suspicious. Bren couldn't see like the thing that the creatures were constructing because it was already washed away again. So it seemed like we wouldn't be able to do the castle building side quest that Tim had prepared.
Oh. Damn it.
But I really wanted to do it, so Teeks ended up like dragging everyone over there.
We're gonna build sandcastles now.
So yeah, so she dragged everyone over there. Fallum suggested Teeks sit on the eggs to help them, which probably wasn't a viable solution. So after chugging down their drinks, the party gathered some of the driftwood that was still around, and it turns out I had the Shape Wood spell, which I definitely prepared that day and didn't just look up and realize I could do.
Definitely.
I mean, it's non-canon, whatever. And then, this was another highlight. I'll put some pictures up of it. We started building a sandcastle, which was basically Tim put us on a different background on Roll20, and then we just used the freehand tool to build this castle. And it's like the most. We started off like this wall, and then we made these little huts, and then there's like a tower with a flag, and then like a no crabs sign, and little cannons on it. And like a bear trap. It is. It should be on screen right now. It's the most ridiculous thing ever.
I love it. I love it so much.
But that's what we
So
worked
good.
on. And we had like an overhead shot of it for the main Roll20 screen. But yeah.
Nice.
Which is, I don't know, that was really silly. That was really fun. Again, it's just, letting your players have that narrative control. We also did something similar in the USP Mutants and Masterminds stream, where when our characters were trapped in the TV world, we briefly interacted with Bob Ross, and we ended up having to paint a picture. And we used, I forget the name of the site, but you can like all paint on the same canvas. So we all painted this landscape together.
Nice.
Oh man, it is my favorite thing. But yeah, so we made that sandcastle together. And then, the day went on. Nigel eventually got us to go out looking for that sunken ship after we helped build a protective castle for these eggs. One of the creatures had mentioned seeing something like large and wooden on the ocean, but everything is large to them, so... After we got a boat, we headed out. Fallon was seeing some sea shanties. The water was a bit hard to see through. Teeks had to cast some water breathing, which I feel like I would have actually prepared, because if we were going to a beach.
Yeah.
Nigel's down on the boat, but yeah, we went into the water, we swam around a bit, it was kind of hard to see. But we eventually came to a ridge where we saw a sunken ship, which could have been like a small trading vessel at some point. But then we were attacked by a sea drake underwater, and we went through that combat a bit. We did kind of run out of time towards the end to do like the whole thing. So we kind of like just narrated like the end of it, which was basically like Nigel had stayed on the boat while the rest of us went down. So basically we all just came back up like looking all ragged and stuff from the sea drake battle.
And he's like, what happened?
Don't worry about it. But yeah, then I guess we just like returned to the beach, and that was sort of like the end of the session. But man, that was really fun. I love that castle. I loved that volleyball game. I don't think that could have turned out better if it was planned.
Yeah, like I don't know. I just from the Discord chat. It like looks like you guys had a really fun time. And hearing and having the context for all these sharks and dresses makes way more sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, kudos to Tim. Apparently everyone had a good time. I had a great time hearing about it, and I want to steal those volleyball rules for my beach episode, which I've been swinging around for a while, claiming that we're gonna have one, but I haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. But yeah, definitely something I want to try out. Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to talk about like homebrewing mechanics for things, or yoinking them off the internet, which is something we've both done. I've certainly borrowed some of the gambling games from Matt Mercer, and I used them in our Starfinder streams, or not streams, but our Starfinder videos way back. As well as like, I guess random tables might fall under that, but not like exactly. And then you would use something as well that you would got from Dale Kingsmill, whose channel I will link below, whose channel and video I'll link below. The Tales at the Campfire, but you had changed up how it sort of functioned when we did that.
Well, I changed some of the names, so it's like Dale actually her channel's Monarch Factory because her name's Dale's Kingmill because funny. But
oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's great. So yeah, she actually took it from a Reddit post and changed some of the names. But hers, it had to do with cards. So every like I guess, downtime kind of campfire session, like everybody would go around and tell stories, and you flip up a deck of cards, and based on the suit that came up, you'd have to tell a story of like love, loss, like, you know, laughter, like a joke, or glory, like, you know, a victory or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So
like the cards, I think the cards one was a bit different. Because what you had done was 3 L's and a G, which was that. The cards were like hearts for a love story, diamonds for a victorious story, clubs for a tragic story, and spades for a story of loss and defeat.
Oh, right. Okay, so yeah. But Gale's is, Dale is like that. So yeah, I thought it was brilliant because, like, I think at the time when I used it, we were all just like it was for the Inion game, I believe.
Yes.
And we're all still really new to like playing with each other. Like I just kind of merged like my old like D&D friends, and Calvin and Deanna and Cam never really play with them, so I kind of wanted to smush those groups together.
Yeah, that's literally what happened, because it was sort of like we had 2 separate parties exploring this new world. And then we kind of like meshed everything together to like this West Marches style campaign. So that was one of the very early things with all of us together.
Yeah, and I wanted to have like a moment where, you know, the players can, you know, work on some backstory stuff, or, you know, express themselves a little bit so everybody can get to know them a little bit better, right? And the idea is like, so you would, I changed it so it'd be like a D4 roll, right? So it's 3 L's and a G, so love, laughter, loss, and like a glory, right? So you'd roll a die, and depending on what it is, you'd have to tell a story. It would be a short story. Like, it doesn't have to be long. It could be from your background. It could be something that like you talk to the DM about, or it could be something completely random and made up, and just kind of like a way to express your characters a little bit, right? And if you couldn't think of anything like on the spot right then, basically it's like the next campfire you have to tell a story of that story. So it gives you like, you know, until the next session to come up with something. It could be like something really quick and easy. So it wasn't like that much of like a pressure. But it was just kind of like, you know, a little bit of like, you can add some narrative for you to add some of the narrative into the game, right?
Right.
And yeah, no, it was fun. We got some cool stories. I think if I can reach back into my mind and remember, because that was like almost 2 years ago, I think, when we did that. It's been a long time since we played.
You definitely did get some tragic tales. I think I remember Cam's Gobleen character talking about her own pasts, and Corey's character, I think, also had a bit of a tragic tale to tell.
Yeah. It was a lot of my entire village was murdered.
Yes.
Like, yeah, I think Goblin's tragic story was like, like she was just living her life, and then some humans came and killed all of her family and friends. Basically, she was the only one to escape some humans, possibly adventurers or something like that, coming to destroy their goblin home, being a goblin. So then I think she found her way to like a monastery where some monks were training, and became a monk, and that's how she, like, basically telling the story of like how she got her class, and the monks taught her how to defend herself, but then Gobleen used her newly found ass kicking powers to go back to that village and apparently kill all of the children, which was like, so the town could like feel the loss that she felt. And I was like, yo, that's kind of dark. And everyone's like, yo, that's real dark. I mean, I guess those villagers kind of had it coming because you killed all of their friends, but like, you know. And then she's like, afterwards, she's like, I think I felt really bad. so she's like, I think I'm gonna try and be good from now on. But it kind of tells a story, like it explains a little bit like how Gobleen is definitely like an evil character, but is trying to do good, because she's like, you know, this is not what the monks taught me to do. This is not what the monks wanted me to do. I need to do better. So, you know, that's also why the reason why she kind of left the mainland and came to Inian, so she can, you know, start over and leave that in the past and just kind of be better. I think, as well as like, other than that, I think Rook, Corey's character. He's like an elf fighter. And he had the story about again, some humans fighting, torching his elven town and killing all of his family because orphans are legit. The tabletop RPG experience.
Heck yeah.
But he actually joined up. He's like, I'm gonna take revenge. So he joined up with like basically elf special ops people, and went on lots of raids against the humans in like a pseudo like elven human war kind of deal. But he ended up leaving that because everyone's like, he's too bloodthirsty. Right? Like he has too much anger in him. So he became like basically like a hitman because if anyone has ever played GM'd for a fighter before in Pathfinder 2e, they're really good at killing things.
Yep.
Yeah, Calvin knows. Calvin knows how the numbers are too big sometimes, and you're like, what? Stop. Like, right. So he told a story about how he was working for some mafia people, and basically like John Wicked his way through a whole like bandit slash bad guy thief camp or whatever, and then basically just made him the enemy of the underworld, and then so he just left and he's like, well, I guess I'm gonna go now, and then proceeded to come to Inion to start over and be like, maybe I shouldn't be killing for the bad guys, maybe I should be, I guess, killing for the good guys, because you guys are like technically just trying to colonize, I guess not colonize, but like explore and tame and make it kind of safer for like the regular people to live in this new land, which now that I think about it in context was a little bit like bad. Because
there were hobgoblins and centaurs living there already, but we can share space.
Right. Yeah, it's not like, I mean, the place is also haunted and full of ghosts. It's like, it's not all just like, these are all sentient creatures and you're just invading my land. Like the place is huge, and like the centaurs, like it's fine. It's fine. I realized afterwards the context of like, wait a minute, did I just like make the Americas?
Like, a little bit, but whatever, man. We'll take the ghosts' land. They don't need it.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's
not like they're living there.
Well, the point is that Inion was inhabited at one point, but something cataclysmic happened, and now people are here to kind of explore all the ruins. Like the place is like littered with ruins. It's like an adventurer's like paradise. Gold mine, right? So it's like half of it's like an archaeological like exploration. Other half of it's kind of like a colonial thing, and the other half of it's kind of like like connecting, like like the centaurs essentially are like basically like other factions or races or people that live there, just reconnecting them back to the mainland, because Inion is like very hard to get to. Mm-hmm. So it's like that kind of deal. And so far the centaurs are like, yeah man, thank God you're here. Like I'm pretty sure I made the centaurs be like, oh my God, thank God other non-hostile people are here, because we're having a tough time with these hobgoblins, right? So yeah. Anyway, yeah. Whew, dodged that bullet a little bit.
I'm sure it was fine. But yeah, like I really like those campfire stories. I remember mine being difficult. I don't remember what it was, but I was trying to come up with a funny story, and I was really struggling with that. But I still think the thing was very interesting as a mechanic. As well, and Cam, when she was on here, talked about this a bit, the knives, spoons, and forks thing. Yes. Which is sort of like RPG knives, again, I had heard of before. Like, you sort of give your DM ideas of things that can come and probably, like, raise the stakes or harm your character later. Like a loved one they can threaten, or like a sudden, like an enemy that you have, like, lurking around in your backstory that shows up again. And just, like, bad things that could happen. But then I got introduced to spoons and forks, and spoons are sort of the opposite, or more like things your character likes, or things that are your character's like favorite thing, like some sort of detail added to your character that are like, well, they enjoy this, they like this like particular like town or place or environment, Less so as a thing to threaten, and more just like as a way to expand your character into what their interests are and, you know, what they enjoy in those quiet moments and things like that. Like, I don't know, like favorite meals, favorite books, things like that. That like are less easily able to be used to harm a player with, but just something that might come up and give you something to like tug onto as a story thread.
Yeah,
And,
yeah. It's like I like the idea that it's kind of like, you know, like a warm bowl of soup on a cold day, something that's comforting, right? It's like something that like pulls them, will pull their mood into like a happy place, right?
yeah, like like as a GM, like if you know one of their player characters has that, then maybe after like a sad or tragic moment or a heavy thing, like maybe that's something that comes up again, that you can let your player explore and see how their character feels about it now after all those times or those moments. And also, yeah, forks are sort of like in betweenish, I guess. They're sort of like motivations, like what your character wants, what their drive is, what kind of goals they have, what they're gonna do to achieve those goals.
Yeah.
It could be tied to the other two, but it's more like a motivation than a good or bad thing.
Okay, cool. So it's kind of like I was gonna say the meat and potatoes. It's like food's on the mind.
Yeah, all this
right.
cutlery.
Yeah, right. So, you know, it's kind of like the drive of your character, right? So that's cool. I like that. You know, like obviously when someone tells their backstory, or like, you know, you make up a backstory to like tell your GM when you're creating a character, like all those aspects are kind of baked in, right? And you kind of just, because like telling a story like that of like someone's backstory, like it's like you kind of have a little bit of that in there, but I like it when it's like clearly laid out, like tell me these things so I can make my game more personal to your character. Yes. Right? Like, you know, I can pull out when you know the team morale is low, maybe I can pull out some spoons and give you guys, or like, you know, like everyone's a little bit directionless and you feel like you're not making progress, but then like here's a fork, you go a little bit further in your personal journey, kind of deal, right? You know, like maybe after like a defeat, or like maybe after like a victory, like it's like, but like in the campaign, but then, you know, you're pulled back because, you know, your GM throws a knife at you and you're like, oh no. You did defeat the dragon, but no, your ex-girlfriend shows up and is like with a new hot guy, and it's like, no.
This is worse than the dragon.
Or like your favorite ice cream shop gets shut down. You're like, no.
You got burned down by the dragon.
Yeah. We ended up saving the town, but like your favorite bar, it's burnt to the ground. Tragedy, just tragedy.
Oh man, it just reminded me of something that happened on the last Skyrim stream.
What?
Where a dragon attacked in Riverwood, like that small town. And something tragic happened to one of the NPCs. And like, I don't know, I guess I'll spoil this a bit. It was Alvor. He ended up getting killed by this dragon after it attacked. And
oh no,
it was a little tragic. Like, it was the NPC reaction was a little rocky, as Skyrim tends to be.
Yeah. It's not perfect.
No, it's not. But it was really sad to see like the whole town gathered around where he had died. And this was a guy who was like a very early NPC that you get introduced to. And he's just in this small town, and he teaches you some crafting and stuff. And I hadn't been back in Riverwood for so long because I've been out exploring, that I came back to this small town just to sell some things. And I was like, yeah, it's nice to be back here or whatever. But then a dragon attacked, and it was just really sad how he ended up just dying there. I don't know. I thought that was a really tragic thing. And that would have been like a perfect tabletop RPG moment. Like, you're back in this small home, and then, you know, this terrible thing happens. That's totally a knife there, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And it's kind of like, I guess it's like also a motivational thing where it's like, well, you know, you are the Dovahkiin. Like, your job is to kill, you know, save everyone from all the dragons, right? It's like, you know, anyone's gonna do it, it's you. And that kind of thing where it's like, the as like a campaign progresses, like the big bad's gonna keep doing stuff, or bad stuff is gonna happen to the townsfolk, and that's where you're the heroes, right? So like, reminding the players that like just because you've passed through a place doesn't mean it's safe. Like it's 100% safe. Like bad things can still happen to it, right?
Right.
I mean, thank God you were here this time, but what happens if you're not, right? You got to go deal with the problem, right? So it's like it's like kudos to Skyrim for still being a really fun game.
Oh yeah.
To be, like
there's so much of Skyrim that works that when something doesn't, it just really stands out.
Yeah. You're just like, oh, weird. Why is that giant flying?
Right?
you're like, oh.
like I can be like out walking and I'm looking at this grand vista and looking at like this amazing view, and like there's this place I was just walking from, but now I'm at higher elevation so I can see it better and things like that. But then I'll be talking to someone who's next to a guy who just got killed by a dragon, and they're like, oh, hello, how are you?
Because it's really hard to program everything.
It is. I like, understandably that is, because then that's like a line of dialogue they have to make for each NPC. It just really stands out, I guess.
Yeah. Well, if that moment wasn't a tabletop RPG, like, the DM would have just been like, "Would you like to buy something?"
Yeah, man. That's why tabletop RPGs are the ultimate game, because they're so reactive. Yeah, I also wanted to talk about some of the gambling games used in Critical Role. I don't know how often they've been used more recently, because they kind of stood out more in the first campaign. But actually, the place where they were used in the first campaign is where the third campaign is now taking place. That was sort of like a location they went to briefly for a few episodes. Mm-hmm. And it's not like their main location or even their main continent, really. So maybe they'll come up again. But I had borrowed a couple of them for the Starfinder stream. And I also borrowed them for my Pathfinder game. I just kind of renamed them because they were named after like gods in like the CR pantheon, which I think is a blend of like 5e and Pathfinder.
Yeah.
So I just kind of renamed them more directly after like certain Pathfinder deities that would make more sense for the area the thing was taking place in. Mm-hmm. So one of them was fairly simple, and I'll link to this below, of course. Avandra's Favor, which I changed to like Sheelan's Favor. Same thing, really. But it was a very simple like roll 2d6. If you get a 7 or a 12, the player wins, and you can double your bet by adding 1d6 to your roll, which is a very simple game. It just makes it like rolling 2d6 and getting a 7 pretty likely. Pretty low buy-in for the game. It's like 25 gold in 5e, but I think that's like very different in Pathfinder or anything else. I think the economy in 5e is very gold based.
25 gold is a lot of gold in Pathfinder.
It is, yeah. Actually. Like, especially Pathfinder 2 especially, that is a whole lot of gold. That is like years worth of work. So definitely you might want to change that for your game economy. But yeah, like it's a very simple game. Like you're just trying to get a 7 or a 12. But you have a lot more risk for that if you're adding another d6. So you can really change things up there. And the one...
Oh, snap. That means, like, if you roll, like... Okay, that's really good, because, like, there's no way for you to get the 7 if you add another die. Right?
Well, it's possible. It's just, like...
Oh, wait, sorry, it's not... Oh, yeah.
It's much less likely.
Wrong. Much less likely, yeah. Like, wow. So then you have to aim for the 12, but then, like, what if you roll... Oh, okay, my mind's blown, actually.
Right?
It's like, this game's so good.
Like, you're just rolling 2 or 3 die, but that's why you can double your bet if you add that extra die.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
And yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I didn't use that one as much. The one that I did use is, it's called Gambit of Ord in the Critical Role game. I called it Caden's Gambit. Same diff, obviously, and then changed the buy-in. But essentially, it was like a card-based game where you're trying to get higher numbers than the other people in the game just by using die rolls. And it starts off with you do your buy-in and everything. And it's a little mechanically finicky, I think, with like too few people or whatever, but it's fine. But you do your buy-in, and then every player rolls a d8, keeping that value hidden. and then you have a chance to like raise the bet. You can call and meet the bet if it gets raised, or you can fold out if you don't think you're going to win. And then that goes on until all the bets are equal, and then everybody rolls a d6 and keeps that secret as well. And then you have your last chance to raise, call, or fold, and then you roll a d4, and then you reveal. I think I kind of messed up some of the mechanics on it when I was doing it in the Pathfinder game. I think you've got to like reveal after that last roll, but whatever. But anyway, you take the total of the d8, the d6, and the d4, and then whoever like has the higher value is the winner of like the pot, the buy-in that all people put in. And a portion of it goes to like the casino or the house or wherever you're playing in. And that just, I don't know why that works so well in both sessions, but like it really keeps, the stakes keep raising as people are rolling more, because you can't see what your opponent's doing. You can only react to how they're acting. So sometimes NPCs will like, and I had this like in the Starfighter game, I had some people like fold out, and some people like buy in and raise the bet. And you can do things like sleight of hand to get a reroll, or like bluff to try to get someone to fold. So it's kind of a matter of like what, like how do you want to risk and how you want to play that? Because if you use your sleight of hand to like sneak an extra card and get your reroll, like you could possibly get caught, and there would obviously be consequences for that. But this game really worked well for the rising tension, especially in Starfinder. I think it worked like exceptionally well.
Yeah, because the context of the game was we were hired to basically like humiliate this guy and then take him out. Like that's like the whole thing, which was like take all his money and then fight him essentially, right? And which was cool because, you know, after every roll or whatever, right, we can have like a jab at him, right? And the tension raised like every time like we would goad him into getting like betting more money or whatever, and like we would, you know, have a little back and forth in a conversation, and then as like the pot gets bigger, like he gets madder every time, and it was just like angry every time, and it was just like it ended up being like I think it was perfect actually, because I remember my character I had rolled really high in all of them, but I kept goading him into putting more in, and then, you know, we revealed, and I was like, yeah, basically like it was like 8-5-4 or something like that, like one off from a perfect hand. And he's like, damn it, and then like the tables flipped, and then it was like pistols out, like a shootout happened in the middle of the casino. Like it was awesome. Like
yeah, man. Like I love when introducing new mechanics creates these awesome narrative moments, because I couldn't have planned how that went out. I couldn't have planned how well your character rolled. I couldn't have planned that the volleyball game ended up going into a tiebreaker round. But they just really you couldn't have planned that, and it just turns out really well, and I love that. I love it so much. Because it breaks up like obviously in combat, like same thing, like you or the DM, like the players or the DM can't predict how things will end up in combat, because you're rolling 20-sided die, or whatever game you're playing, you're rolling a random number for it, if that's the mechanics of the game, or drawing a card or whatever. So you can't guarantee how something will go, but like it's in these like mini games that I find you get some really creative moments, because you're using some mechanic or skill that you never did before.
Yeah, like, dude, so it's like, you know, like you're going through your game, your campaign, it's usually just like, you know, combat, exploration, maybe some revelation, you know, readjust, combat, like, you know what I mean? Like it's like it breaks up the like the flow in a fun way, right? Like the repetition, I guess. Just adding these little moments of like, you know, cool narrative stuff that, you know, stuff might be on the line, but like it's also like a break of like, you know, you're just trying to parlay or talk to an NPC or bluff them or whatever, right? It's like adds a little bit more context, and it's like you're still like I like the idea of playing a game within a game.
Yes.
So, you know, it's pretty fun. Yeah.
And yeah, definitely, I think any other GMs out there, if you have an interest in doing a specific kind of like mini game, you can definitely try to like look up rules for that sort of thing, or even just like craft your own. I think you'll find some really good results with it. You might have to like refine some stuff. Might take you a couple of goes to get the exact thing that you want, or the exact kind of feeling that you want. Which is just like, that's just game design, right?
Yeah.
Running RPGs is, when it comes down to it, it's just game design.
Yeah, and let us know if you want Tim to give us those rules. I know I want Tim to give us those rules, but I think it'd be kind of cool to just have it somewhere. So you just want to port in like a volleyball game in your Pathfinder 2e game, here's some outlines, right? So maybe I'll bug Tim about that, so you guys can get it.
Should be on our Roll20 still, so yeah, maybe we can put that out there on the site if people are interested in that. I think that's going to cover our episode for today. Speaking of the website, I highly recommend checking it out, winwithdice.ca, where we have all sorts of... I will make sure to, hopefully by the time this goes up, I will have up the art from this episode. Some of it's like screen caps from our game. Some of it is JoJo memes that Chibi drew, featuring some of our characters, which are really fun. I'll have a post with those up if you want to check that out. You can also check us out on social media. Mostly Twitter is where we're the most active, at Win with Dice, where I will, we'll share some cool stuff, some Lancer stuff, as well as when we go live. Speaking of going live, hit the subscribe button so you know that when we do, and ring the notification bell so you get a notification when we go live with new episodes or with Skyrim streams. Mm-hmm. Also, shout out to all of our awesome friends with this long list. So shout out to, as we always do, Shaka's Field Guide to Mfukane. If you want to check that out on itch.io, where you can download the PDF and download the LCP files to add to your CompCon. It's a cool Lancer setting. Comes with some setting information, some mechs that you can add to your game. Celeste's Lancer RPG guides, which are guides to how to use certain NPCs in Lancer. I think there is one up there that is new, that I hadn't read before, because there's 4 of them now and there were 3 before, so there's definitely a new one up there since we interviewed them. So definitely go check that out if you want to get some ideas on how to use certain kinds of NPCs in your Lancer games. Another shout out to the Untold Stories project, where I'm there pretty much every week playing Mutants and Masterminds, doing our stream game of the Nether War campaign adventure that exists. They also just launched Nether War on Roll20 also. Green Ronin did. So be sure to go check that out. I think this week, because our GM recently got married, so he will be on his honeymoon. So we're just going to be doing a recap episode this week, I believe, or the previous Monday when this comes out on Wednesday. The last recap episode was like controlled chaos, so I expect this to be much the same.
Nice.
It was just us like having a lot of fun reminiscing about the game and making predictions, and I was paranoid about the wrong person, is all I will say.
Oh man, that's so good. I'm looking at Celeste's thing. It's I think the Aegis is the new one. So
right.
It's pretty good. I just kind of skimmed it, and I love all of the titles of the little I guess like the NPC groups, or like not the NPC groups, the what I should call it, like the little story bits that they get to explain the context of like how do you use this NPC. It's really good. I like it.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have a link to it below. Go check it out. Like if you want to GM Lancer, I gotta like get around to GMing Lancer at some point in my life. I'm just so focused on everything I'm doing right now. Yeah.
Give me more time as like a PC in that game. Like, I really love being a PC in that game, so I get to do cool stuff.
Yeah, it's been a minute
halfway across the map
since I've done anything with it, so I don't know. I'm kind of focused on like my Pathfinder stuff, but definitely I gotta get around to it. Those guides will certainly be helpful.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And yeah, I think that's about all we have to cover for this episode. There's the catchphrase, which I gotta say. I don't know, did I forget anything else?
No, I think we're good. Keeps getting longer and longer, but yeah, we're good.
So yeah, definitely check out the people we've linked below. For sure, if you have an interest in like making up your own mechanics for something in a game, just go ahead and do it. The worst that can happen is that you can make it better later. So
yeah.
Definitely that's something you should try. And another thing that everyone out there should remember is to keep on winning with dice. And we'll see you next week.
See you guys.